Right now, somewhere inside your body, there's a scar. You can't see it, you can't feel it, but scientists can read it. And what it says should change the way you think about being alive. It's written in your DNA, and it tells the story of the single worst day in human history, a day that almost ended our entire species, and a mystery that scientists still can't fully explain. Here's what we're told. Humans evolved in Africa. We slowly spread across the planet. We adapted. We survived. A long, steady, unstoppable success story. That's the version in every textbook. Here's what the textbooks left out. In the late 1990s, geneticists started mapping human DNA on a global scale, comparing samples from people all over the planet. Different countries, different continents, different everything. And they found something that stopped them cold. Every human alive today is almost genetically identical. Not similar, almost identical. We have less genetic diversity than almost any other large species on Earth. Chimpanzees living in a single forest in Africa have more genetic variation between them than all 8 billion humans on the planet combined. Think about that. Every person who has ever lived, every culture, every race, every nationality. Less genetic variety than one group of chimps in one forest. If humans had really been spreading across the planet for 300,000 years, we should be far more genetically diverse. And we're not. And there is only one explanation that fits. At some point in our history, almost everyone died. Scientists call it a population bottleneck. A moment where the human population crashed so hard that nearly all of our genetic diversity was wiped out. Only a tiny group survived. And every human alive today came from that group. Here's what actually happened. 74,000 years ago, a supervolcano called Toba erupted in what is now Indonesia. This was not a normal eruption. This was the largest volcanic event in the last 2 million years. Mount St. Helens erupted in 1980. Toba was 2,800 times larger. The ash cloud wrapped around the entire planet. A layer of ash several inches deep fell across South Asia. The sky went dark. Not for days, for years. What followed is called a volcanic winter. Global temperatures dropped by up to 15 degrees in some regions. Plants died. The animals that ate the plants died. The predators that ate those animals died. Entire food chains just collapsed. And the humans living through this had no shelter beyond caves. No stored food, no technology, no understanding of what was happening. The sun just stopped working. And it stayed that way for years. Some researchers believe the human population crashed to as few as just 10,000 people. Others say even lower. A few hundred breeding pairs on the entire planet. For context, there are currently around 4,000 tigers left on Earth. After Toba, there may have been even fewer humans than that. We weren't just endangered. We were one bad season away from being gone. Forever. Think about what 10,000 people actually means. That's a small town. Not a country, not a city. A small town. Take every human being alive right now, all 8 billion of us, and reduce it to the population of a small town. No countries, no history yet, no languages, just a few thousand people, scattered across a dying ash-covered planet, trying to survive something they had no words for. And from that group comes every single person who has ever existed since. Every empire, every language, every song ever written, every war ever fought, every love story, all of it, from that one small group who refused to disappear. And here's where it gets really strange. Because the genetic evidence is clear. The bottleneck happened. Every person alive today descends from that tiny surviving group. We can read it in our DNA just like a scar. But when archaeologists went looking for physical evidence of the catastrophe, something didn't add up. In 2010, a research team in southern India found stone tools buried in the soil, below a layer of Toba ash, and above the same layer of ash. The same style of tools, meaning humans were living there before the eruption, and were somehow still there afterward. not just scraping by, but continuing, their tools unchanged, their culture intact, as if the largest volcanic event in 2 million years was just a difficult decade. Nobody can agree on how this was possible. One theory says humans survived in small coastal refuges, living off shellfish that weren't affected by the ash. Another theory says the bottleneck happened before Toba, and that Toba gets too much credit. A third theory says the effects were regional, not global. Nobody agrees. The one thing every scientist does agree on is that based on our genetics alone, we should not be here. But here's the part nobody talks about. If the bottleneck was that severe, the recovery should have been slow. A population that takes tens of thousands of years to rebuild. That's just basic genetics. But roughly 60,000 years ago, something unexpected happened. Humans didn't just recover, we exploded. We left Africa in massive numbers. We crossed open ocean to reach Australia 65,000 years ago. No compass, no maps, no modern navigation. Someone stood on a beach, looked at open ocean, and crossed it. We developed language, abstract art, music, burial rituals, all within a few thousand years of nearly going extinct. Scientists call this the Great Leap Forward, a sudden explosion of human capability that happened right after the worst disaster in our history, and nobody can explain why. One theory says the disaster triggered it, that being compressed into tiny isolated groups made us more creative, more cooperative, more adaptive. That near-extinction forced a leap that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Another theory says a genetic mutation spread through the survivors, a rewiring of the human brain that gave us the ability to think in symbols, to imagine things that don't exist yet, to tell stories. We still don't know which theory is right. We may never know. But here's the thing that should stay with you. You are alive right now because of someone who survived the unsurvivable. Someone with no shelter beyond a cave, no technology beyond a sharpened rock, no idea what was happening to the sky. The sun was gone. The animals were dying. Everything they knew was collapsing. And they kept going anyway. You are not here by accident. You are here because 70,000 years ago, someone decided not to give up. And on the worst day in human history, they made it. The most unlikely survival story in the history of life on Earth is the reason you exist.